Happy Canada Day, folks.
Okay, Canuck.
All of a sudden, Trump gets into office, and he starts talking about annexation and tariffs. And yes, all of a sudden, Canadians are looking to Captain Canuck as a symbol. We're expressing some keen interest in Captain Canuck, largely because of what's happening between America and Canada at this very time. So, in a sense, we have Mr. Trump to thank for a bit of resurgence.
We get to see the maple trees, maple sugar on the maple leaves. We get the biggest wheat fields growing tall. In Canada, where we see the reversing falls. In Canada, we get to see them all.
Hey there, Laura here with an update after a week of tariff flip-flops and market manipulation by the MAGA maniac. Canada is standing strong and hasn't budged from its position, imposing its own 25% tariffs on non-CUSMA approved products. After announcing and then putting on pause the tariffs he had set on all other countries, including Penguin Islands and such, he had left the existing 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico, saying, "We cheat like crazy." Gee, who would have knew he heard about how you got the Geneva Convention? The latest announcement from the Cheeto-in-Chief Costa, Prime Minister Carney, to pause his campaign tour and return to Ottawa and Parliament to speak with the provincial premiers.
I grew up with the values that I learned on the ice, at the rink, at the kitchen table, in the classroom. My parents were teachers who stressed the importance of hard work. You're a teacher too? Yeah. The importance of supporting each other in community and the importance of caring for other people. My hockey coaches taught me to play hard, to be ambitious, but because it's Canada, also to be humble. And I kept those values close to me when I was managing crises here in Canada and around the world. And I remembered them whenever I was working with others to build strong economies. And now I'm drawing on them to stand up to Donald Trump and to build the strongest economy in the G7, an economy that works for everyone.
On Friday, he met with them, and afterwards he spoke to the press saying that they'd agreed on a strategy with clear instructions in place for whichever party wins the election at the end of the month that will put Canada in the best position to negotiate with the U.S. Earlier this month, Carney filed a complaint with the WTO, World Trade Organization, over the tariffs on our auto industry, claiming the measures are inconsistent with U.S. obligations under various provisions under the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, of 1994. And China has taken our lead and also filed a complaint. Well, the euro is now at a 3-year high, and more investors are fleeing the U.S. To more secure markets like the Japanese yen, which is strong, and the Swiss franc is surging for the first time since 2015. And trade negotiations are ongoing between countries that were traditional enemies long before America existed. So now they're speaking on speaking terms. Wonderful. The Canadian dollar actually showed some improvement despite this instability on Wall Street.
Well, I think it's clear that the rule of law and a contract, now that it's been broken, I don't think we're going to be gullible to re-sign it and actually expect it to hold. So I think Canada has to position itself as open for business to the rest of the world, and we have to be quite aggressive on that front and figure out our trading routes, figure out our ports, figure out our oil shipments, and we have to diversify away from the U.S. In the meantime, I think building a deal with the U.S. makes a lot of sense, and I'm hoping whoever we elect kind of pursues that. I think I think Canada ultimately in over the long term is in great shape, because we're unified in our beliefs, unified in how we think about trade. The U.S. taking down artificial barriers provincially. So where the U.S. is just not unified, it's always a jump ball, and so therefore it's really hard to predict that outcome of what you're going to get in 4 years, or even in 2 years if Congress changes. So that in itself will prevent capital from locking into any sort of long-term plan.
But now here's where Carney shows his experience and his masterful tactics when dealing with an unstable market and an even more unstable government. This was by Adam Mockler. I'll just read some of it to you. From Adam Mockler and Hayden Wright on Substack, saying that Canada silently killed Trump with a Bond villain playbook. Let's talk about the exact moment Donald Trump blinked. It wasn't loud, no unhinged untruth storms, no frothing at the mouth rally rants. 1 minute he was chest thumping over a global trade war, slapping 125% tariffs on China, 25% on Canada's autos, threatening the world like a cornered bully, and the next he hit the brakes. A 90-day pause, a retreat, a white flag disguised as strategy. But this wasn't Trump playing 4D chess, this was Trump getting checkmated. And who's the player across the board? Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, who just pulled off one of the most brilliant, quietest power plays in modern economic history. Before he became Prime Minister, Mark Carney was the kind of guy who ran entire economies for fun. This is truly his battlefield. He served as governor of both the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, the only person in history to lead 2 G7 central banks. He's a Harvard and Oxford-educated economist, a former Goldman Sachs executive, and widely regarded as one of the most respected financial minds on the planet. Here's what happened. While Trump was rattling sabers, Carney was loading the gun. Canada quietly ramped up its holdings of U.S. Treasury bonds, over $350 billion worth by early 2025. On the surface, a defensive hedge, but in reality, a financial kill switch. Then Carney did something even colder. He flew to Europe. No pressers, no podiums, just backroom meetings with the EU's biggest economic hitters. France, Germany, the Netherlands, Japan was in the room too. The pitch? If Trump escalates, we bleed the US bond market. Not a fire sale, a slow, painful unwind. No fireworks, just the subtle, systematic unraveling of America's borrowing power. When they buy, great. When they sell, even slowly, panic. Selling causes bond prices to fail, yields spike, interest rates rise, borrowing gets expensive, dollar weakens, stock markets tremble, global investors lose faith. Translation: Trump's beloved beautiful bond market, one big gust of wind from coordinated foreign selling and its house of cards. Carney lined up America's largest foreign creditors and showed Trump the cliff's edge. So, it's a good time to invest in Canada, I'd say. Well, even the new monarch, King Charles of England, gave Canada its props with regards to its contributions to the world stage while visiting Italy to give his regards to the military achievements and contributions.
Including more than 45,000 from Commonwealth nations and almost 30,000 from the United Kingdom. My grandfather, King George VI, visited British and Allied troops in July and August 1944, staying at an HQ near Arezzo. Tomorrow, in Ravenna, as King of the United Kingdom and of Canada, I will have the great honour of commemorating the 80th anniversary of the liberation of that province, together with President Mattarella, in which British and Canadian forces played a key role.
Back home in my province, British Columbia's Premier Eby has been out in front of the cameras lately and has published a list of American companies asking the government to and its ministries to review them and cancel any non-essential U.S. contracts are feasible, including magazine subscriptions. At a news conference, he said that we've got to be prepared to stand on our own 2 feet, telling reporters that BC cannot be subject to the whims of Donald Trump. There was a bit of a smell of hypocrisy, because after he made that announcement, he confirmed that the government has contracts with Elon Musk's Starlink. He had already disqualified Tesla from receiving provincial rebates, saying that if British Columbians heard that 10,000s of taxpayer money would go to Elon Musk, they would want to throw up. I'd throw up at any suggestion that got anything from me. Citizen Services Minister George Chow explains the reasoning behind the decision. Everyday Canadians continue to do their part with the voluntary boycotts, no letting up, or the elbows up events, and cross-border leisure travel has dropped, continuing to drop now to, I believe, over 80%. There's a lot more fear about the crackdowns of border agents and ICE. Lots of awful stories.
Canadians are turning their backs on travel to the U.S.
As a Canadian, I'm truly offended. Absolutely offended. We just came back from Florida about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we had it all booked and paid for, so we went, but we won't be going again for many years, if ever again.
According to Statistics Canada, new data for March shows 600,000 fewer return trips from the U.S. by Canadians in their cars compared to 2024. This is the 3rd consecutive month of year-over-year declines in travel, and it's the steepest plunge since the pandemic. These numbers come in the wake of the U.S. president's tariffs and those repeated threats about Canada becoming a 51st state. There's also concerns Canadian travelers are facing more scrutiny trying to cross the border.
The protests are ongoing. And, one last thing, but not least, the great one, Wayne Gretzky's record for most career goals was broken by the Great Eight. Number 8, Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals broke his record on a power play during their game with the New York Islanders. Some cynics might say it was karma for Gretzky's continued loyalty to that lard-ass landlord at Lord of Mar-a-Lardo. After he insulted and gave his aggression towards Canada. Elbows up! Let's go, Canada! Let's go, Carney! Let's go, Captain Canuck!
Let's see the back.
Rotate. Turn around.
Stay tuned for more on Political Drain Canadian Edition.
Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.